like we're recording. So thank you everyone who has joined us. Looks like 15 people or so. I'm James Appleton, Advertising Sales Executive at Minico Publishing, and I'm also a board member of ASA and the technology chair. I'd like to welcome you to another webinar in the ASA Educational Series. As many of you know, this is one of several informative webinars we have planned this year. And our goal is to provide valuable information and good takeaway that will help you in your business operations. And we're always interested in finding out potential new topics you guys may be interested in, and we'd be happy to entertain doing a webinar on things moving forward. In terms of the Mini Storage Messenger at Minico Publishing, if you're interested in finding out more info, go to ministoragemessenger.com. Now, today's webinar is how to get to the market, and it's sponsored by XPS Solutions, and our presenter is Mike Roberts. He's the Executive Vice President of Sales and Operations. I was saying earlier, feel free to use the chat functionality to send in questions as Mike goes through the presentation. He will not be able to see them, so it's just a little distracting, he said, so I will be monitoring those. And if there's any, and also turn that off, by the way, so it doesn't have to go to all participants, so don't be shy. You can send it directly to me if you've got a question. But if time permits, we'll run through questions and answer them. If you can't get to them, I'm sure Mike would be happy to talk to everybody or anybody offline. But today's webinar will be recorded, and it'll be available in the archives on the ministoragemessenger.com website, as well as through the Arizona Self-Storage Association website. You'll also be getting a follow-up email afterwards that gives you instructions on how to access the recording and also how to share it with your team and other people if you want to share things. There's also a quick little survey after the webinar. Very helpful if you guys would just take a couple minutes and give us some feedback on the webinar and on ASA and things that we do and your use of them. And we're just trying to gauge, you know, do you guys access certain things and how often do you use them? Do you share that access with your managers and things like that? So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn control over to Mike, and then at the end, Ann's going to make some announcements for ASA, and we'll give Mike the last word, and then we will be done. So once again, thanks for attending, and let's see if we can get this over to him real quick. In theory, you control.
No, let me just go in here and we'll start it. Can you, James, can you see that screen right there?
Actually.
You can see how to get your share of the market first screen?
I can see how to get your share of the market, the event information, but I can't actually. Can you guys see his screen? Ann, you see it?
I can.
No. God.
Hold on. Let me get here. So I saw you come in as me, the presenter, but I didn't see the share screen button.
Go and transfer all control over to you.
I'm now the host for this event. Okay.
No. God, what's different about today? We had this working the other day. No.
It's the critters taking control again.
Looks like Eric is laughing at us.
Hello, Eric.
How's two technology people? Send me your PowerPoint again real quick and email, and we can do it that way.
Well,
that's the thing to do. Let's do that.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Ann. You can talk. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the trade show. It is not May 4th through 6th, and I am actually reading from a book called Decoding the New Consumer Mind by Yarrow, who is a consumer psychologist, and she is our speaker this year. And just this this one little section on page 8, she's talking about customers, and she says that today's shopper needs a jolt of emotional intensity to pull the trigger on a purchase. Interference and noise, such as product complexity, confusing processes, or waiting, another aspect of a more intense shopping experience. So, not that we're setting the excellent example right now of not making people wait as we make you wait for this webinar, but it got me to think about something that Ann Ballard and Carol Crundle said recently in training sessions that I was able to attend at national conferences, and they were talking about the length of time it takes to rent a unit. And I think this is an area in which we can certainly improve. And so that's the kind of information that Kit's going to share. She'll talk about cultural shifts and strategies to meet them so that we can attract and retain today's customer and get all valuable peer review as well. I was fascinated with Kit's presentation at the SSA conference in Las Vegas, and we're delighted to be able to bring her here in May. So if that's a great reason to come. But I tell you what, we're also bringing back the economist who spoke 2 years ago, whose name is Jim Rounds. He's the Elliott Pollock Group here in town. His presentation 2 years ago elicited comments like hearing this economist was worth the price of admission, and I totally agree. He'll talk about trends in the economy and how they apply to business in general and to our business here in Arizona. So that'll be another fascinating presentation. It's in May. You can register online on our website at www.azselfstorage.org. Go to events section to check out details of the conference, and go to the products and registration section to purchase your registration, to purchase and register. If you're interested in other aspects, you can give us a call or email us. For there are any vendors listening who would like to exhibit, we can be reached at 602-374-7184 or via email at azsahq@mail.com. I want to remind everybody that the room discounts end on April 10th. It's about 2 weeks away, I believe, a little more than 2 weeks away. And it's a great discounted room rate of $109. The rooms are beautiful. The price will go up after that, and they may sell out rooms, so we do encourage you to reserve your room early. The discount for registration ends on April 18th, and that you get 1 free registrant for every 10 who register. There's great opportunities to save money. That, in fact, that's one of the things that Kit Yarrow encourages. Always make the customer feel like they're saving money, because that way they feel like they've won. So we're up another money-saving, business-building opportunity, which is our networking breakfast.
And can we save that for later? I just got everything set up on this end. Shelf. I just want to make sure Mike gets his time. Mike, will you pass the host control back to me? Just right click my name in the panelist area.
So is the joke, how many technology guys does it take to change a light bulb?
Don't go there. It's fair.
It's all of them, plus their father, who can do it with a ladder.
And to a link too. So once I get to the inspect what you expect, I'll ask you to click on that link, and then I'll let you man it from there.
That sounds excellent. Parents.
So here's the question: can everybody see PowerPoint?
James's desktop. How to get your share of the market. PowerPoint with a big slide in the middle and all the other slides on the left-hand side.
Okay.
Now I see just how to get your share of the market.
All right.
What a beautiful clean hallway filled with. So let's not bore these people out of their minds any further. Let's kind of get into this, and just kind of direct you to the next slide, if you would. All right, so everybody, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm in Dallas, Texas, so I'm 2 hours ahead of you, so for me it's lunchtime. And we're going to talk about a couple things here today. And we're going to talk about, getting the proper share of the market out there. We're going to talk about how do the prospects find you, right? What compels them to go out and get self-storage? We all know self-storage is not a super sexy thing, and it's a laden thing. It's a not want to, it's a have to type of a service that we provide. So we'll talk about that and the philosophy of that. We're going to talk about how to get the prospects to your door. You've probably heard in the world of business centers and call centers, and it's really going to be geared towards that. And there's a lot of providers in the vertical today, and they're all very good. The terminology you hear today is about reservations and that sort of thing. We're going to talk about that, how you break the paradigm on reservations, and how show is much more important than the reservation. And what about what's your strategy now that you've got everything in place? I have a great website. I've just spent thousands of dollars. I've trained my managers. I've got, this beautiful signage. I've got all of this stuff, but now, and about how you track that progress. James? So, love this quote because it flies right in the face of the independent operator. And you've got to be very aware of this. The REITs are growing, and they're coming to buy the independent. And 52,000 and change, I think, is how many self-storage facilities we have today. I think that number varies depending on who you talk to. And the largest one, Public Storage, has, 2,200 to 500 now, something like that. So you can see, the scale economy there. It's just barely tipping the ice cube, or the tip of the iceberg there. But look at what Spencer Kirk has to say. There's still virtually no new supply, and because of the power and potency of the internet platform, they're taking market share from the smaller operator. He's not being bashful about anything. They're coming after you, and you need to be prepared. You can compete with the REIT. And simple things here that we're going to show you today that help you do so. All right. I love this slide. It tells it all about the industry. I was at the Self-Storage Association show in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago, and there was everybody up there talking about the experts, and they knew this, and they were all kinds of factoids would be, we throw out there. And I heard myself and listening to these conversations with these people and presenters, what was their backup? What was their source? Right? And look to not only our own as a source, being in the business 15 years, almost 100,000 calls a month. We know a little bit about what we're talking about when it comes to big data, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But a 2014 study by Interactive Intelligence, who is the foremost when it comes to industry data, factoids, whatever you want to call it, and I tell you right here, 61% of consumers prefer getting answers by telephone. Because I take about 100,000 of them a day. Inevitably, your customer will have a question. Another interesting fact about this slide that I love is 15% for chats with agents. Loved it, right? And as you go on, and this is an interesting part, and anybody attended the DC show, 11% use self-service, social media, and companies' websites to get assistance. That's a small percentage of the consumers who go and use that. We know what the demographics are, and we're going to talk about that as we go through here. But just remember that number as I'm starting to speak through here, 61%, because it's going to be very important to you. Customer finds you, right? There's comes home one day and John tells her, hey, a job that I'm going to work from home, and you're going to have to clean all the stuff out of the spare bedroom. I'm going to have to turn that into an office. Or vice versa. Mary says that's a job. So now what they are is an in-market lead. They're looking for self-storage. Now, they've probably driven by your facility probably 100 times in their neighborhood since they lived there. Never paid any attention into the need, right? So we're going to use, for this example, Sentinel mini storage. And it's page here, but typically how they're going to see it is they probably drove by, saw you, and they went home and they looked you up, and it by zip code. Now, that's a double-edged sword for your facility, because what happens is now it opens your competition up for be able to see different options that they never knew they had. They probably, like I said, they probably don't pay any mind to you until they have a need for you. Next slide. There's a 3 to 5 mile radius that a consumer will go to store their goods. We call that your primary market area. And further, maybe you live in a rural area, they'll go 10 to 12, but 3 to 5 is about it. And what's interesting about that number is within this radius, you're going to be 1 of 7 competitors. And if you'll go back to the other slide real quick, on the right-hand corner, we call that the orange dot. In Avatar, there's an official name for those, but you can see the cluster right there. In this area, obviously, because it's an Arizona Self-Storage webinar, you can see there the customer has a lot of choices, right? And we want to make sure that if they select you and they come to your website, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute too, what are you going to be prepared to do in order to keep them there? Okay, James? One. We're going to pick on Sentinel today, right? I chose this one because it's a nice website. Very organized here. It's very current. You can see home, about, services, location, resources, the current tags that you would see today. The demographic who shops for self-storage online is between the ages of 26 and 53 years of age. And they're looking for certain things. Who rent storage from you, it's only about price, but it's about trust. And come and they see a website like this, immediately they get the warm and fuzzy. The media, not saying they're going to friend you or anything like that, they might, but they're going to come and see how well it's done. And you've got the current tags here and that sort of thing, and then so they've read this information, right? And then they're going to cut location. Let's go to the next slide, please. Something like this. And it's got the maps on there. They had all the information up front that they could read about the facility, its driving directions and all that. But if you'll notice on this website here, there's only really 2 ways to contact this site. One, I can pick up the phone and call the 602 number, right, which they do. We take over 100,000 phone calls a month. Or they'll come very right-hand side of this page at the contact. They'll fill out the telephone number, email, and they'll hit the submit button. Now, we were about 15,000 of those web inquiries per month. So I tell you that it's a big chunk. And the reason they're doing that is they're still in that buyer's remorse. They're still giving you the Heisman, right? They're just not, even though they've got a need for storage, probably number 6 on the list of 5 things to do. It's not sexy for them. It is something they don't want to do. So they're going to fill something like that out just in case the husband or wife says, hey, did you check into it? Yeah, I'm shopping around. I did my due diligence. And there's a problem with those web inquiry forms, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. Or, again, they'll pick up the phone, and are you prepared for those phone calls? Right? Go to the next. The facility, 3 to 5 calls a day. I don't care where you're located. You can be in Oregon, you can be in Maine, you can be in Canada, you can be in Puerto Rico. That's just the way it is. And it's quite more than that, right? The contact time on a web inquiry, that's that little contact form that they filled out, is just in 45 minutes. Now, I'm not going to these statistics up. I'm going to tell you how I know all this in just a minute. But those web leads, ladies and gentlemen, are dead in 20 minutes. Yet your managers are lazy and, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Your site managers, what we consider are the MVPs, the most valuable people. And they got 52 different things they have to do every single day in order to make your facility run. They got kids coming in, they got people that want to pay their bills, they've got to clean out units, they're taking people on tours. And in a lot of cases, they don't have time to get to those web leads. As you're spending hard-earned marketing dollars to fill your competition's coffers because you don't have a strategy in place to get to those web leads in a decent amount of time, and we're going to talk about that. You got two types of managers who work at your facility today. You got a very sales-focused manager, or you got an operationally focused manager. Rare that you have the combination of the two, and if you do, pay them a ton of money because they're gold. Typically, we see the operational type. They're very good at their site management softwares. They've got the place sparkling clean. But in some cases, they'd rather go out and paint a fence in 100-degree weather than do a clack or follow-up. I'm going to talk about that in a minute also. So what? Put your stuff in place. You've done everything you possibly can to place attractive, you got great signage, you got marketing out there. So what's strategy? 8% of your consumers shopping for storage doing it online. We want them to come to your website, and we want them to stick. I don't want them to come to your website and bounce off. That's bad, right? We want it to be interactive. We want them to see the aesthetics of your website. We want them to be happy. We want them to see it and have that trust factor with you. And we want it to be interactive. They're inevitably going to have some questions. And those can range from a new prospect all the way for a current customer. I'll show you ways where you can interact with them immediately and create that stick rate. The longer they stick, the more likely they are to rent from you. Remember that. The longer they stick on your website, the more likely they are to rent from you. Now, I'm giving you a lot of factoids here. Now, I'm giving you a lot of data and a lot of numbers, and you're probably thinking, Mike, how do you know all this? Where are you getting? Well, obviously, Interactive Intelligence tells us, right? But if XPS wanted to get into the data business, we certainly could. We have enough of it. We can track it, and it's real time. We send surveys out to site managers and expect that response back and build our data like that. We have owners. We don't reach out to industry experts and ask them, what's your opinion? We know because we take these calls every single day, and we ask your tenants how they found you, the zip codes, all the different information that you're going to need to know. We ask. And you can see this one report here. This is just an example, and you can see this is one of our larger customers, and you can see from the right-hand side, it's a bit of an eye chart on this, but it's internet, it's drive-by, internet. Drive-by is a very interesting one. And to see about that is, we reach out to the tenant and we said, listen, we're doing survey, we paid them for their time. And to them, listen, when you called us, you mentioned drive-by. It wasn't internet, it wasn't virtual, but it was drive-by. Tell us about that. They told us the same old story. I had a need, and I was driving to the grocery store in the neighborhood, and I saw you, and, that's why didn't you just pull in and say hi to the manager? And in some cases, when we interviewed the tenant, they did. They went in and they said hello, and they shook hands, and, and the rental happened. But in most cases, what they did was they went home, they Googled it, and they looked you up online, and boom, that opened them up to all sorts of choices that they had to make. And now they're in the land of confusion. And now they're in the land of price shopping, right? But once you get them to your website, We're going to them, and we're going to interact with them, and we're going to take them out of those different lands, and we're going to take them into the land of renting with you. Okay? So strategy begins with coverage. Now, we've done all sorts of kind of analysis on thousands and thousands of websites and self-storage facilities across the country. We have almost 1,500 facilities today. And so your strategy begins with your daily coverage. The average facility is open 48 hours a week. Sometimes they're a little bit more, sometimes they're a little less. We see coverage at the facility. Sometimes it's single manager, sometimes it's two managers or an assistant manager or whatnot. They are just Mach 5. Like I think I said, there was 52 different things a manager does in a day to keep the facility going. It's all the bell job. I mean, it's not a twiddle your fingers type of job. Your managers are humming for you. So the problem here that lies is in the coverage. And so we found that you can, there are companies out there that offer 24/7 coverage, and that's fine. They're very good companies, by the way. But what we found was that later in the evening times, most of your inquiries are non-prospects, and they want to do a of some sort. And we're getting into statistics about that too. So pretty much way we're open, and I'm not trying to sell XPS at this point, but I got to use it as an example. The coverage that we provide are about $498 per month. That's the equivalent of 3 full-time employees. So you can either do it yourself and send your hours and pay your employees those extra dollars, right? And as you look at this, you'll see that outsourcing is probably going to be the more financial and beneficial way for you to do it. All right. There's some best practices here. Be in tracking mode. So I mentioned early on in the conversation that the average facility misses 3 to 5 calls a day. And I use the number 10 here because I'm not very good at math, so, it's an easy number for me to use. But, out of 10 calls, let's just say out of 10 calls that come to a facility or that we take, 7 of those are non-prospect calls. Right? And out of that percentage, or 60% or whatever it is, 42% of those calls are, I want to make a payment, how much do I owe on my bill? Right? A manager is hustling and taking those question calls, or there's probably 30 subcategories of a non-prospect call. I want to make a payment, I'm locked out, different inquiries. 30% of those calls are prospects. And so what do you have today? I mean, if your manager's on the phone and they're talking and making a payment call, but whatever your payment time is, it's either the 1st or the 15th of the month, or you might be on anniversary billing, whatever it is, because on the 1st of the month and the end of the month, we're getting slammed with payment calls, and we're automating it. And so you're slammed at those times. What's happening to those prospect calls? Are they going to your voicemail box? Trust me, those people aren't going to leave you a voicemail. They're going to go to your competition. And the first who answers that call is going to win. So remember, don't them, and you don't want to fill competition's pocketbook with your hard-earned marketing dollars. Okay? The ration versus the show. We've been around for 15 years, and the ration term is, this big, line that's out there, and we see press releases where some companies said they've reached their 1 millionth reservation. Congratulations, good job on that. But a manager and an owner of a facility, a reservation doesn't mean anything to you. It has no correlation with your net operating income. There's no correlation on your return on investment. It's nothing. It's outcast is what it is. The only things that should matter to you are, did they show and they rent. Anything else doesn't matter. And so there are programs out there that use different, we call them power of the premium, to customer to come out. Lock is not going to get them to show up. They don't care. And I've got record after recordings that'll let you hear the difference in these people's voices. And it's simple. It goes something like this. Call something like this. Thank you for calling ABC Self Storage. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? This is Bill Johnson. Hi, Bill. You're looking for storage today. And that's kind of how the call goes. Now, a good outsourced facility or a good manager will start with a lot of open-end questions to qualify that person. And as you all know, you've probably listened to thousands of calls, to drag a donkey through the mud because they're in a very stressful situation. So they need storage, but they don't want storage. Because they're being evicted, they're buying a new home, they're building a new home, whatever the reason is, and they shocked you to death, and they're thinking, man, I saw this thing for $49, it's a 5x5, and that's what they're thinking, but, you know, they probably got 4 bedrooms worth of furniture. An idea. So a manager and a good call center is going to ask a lot of qualifying questions, right? So in that conversation, there needs to be a strategic pitch on how to get them to your facility. Now, there's 2 ways to go about it. Use for a credit card, right? Visa, MasterCard, American Express, you can certainly do that. But our research shows that that's absolutely the worst way to do it. Because out of 10 prospects, and I'm going to use that number 10 again, out of 10 prospects, maybe, and if you got a super duper great closing manager, and then you got great service reps who answer your phone, maybe you'll get 2 of them to give you a credit card. Maybe. And trust me, credit card people, they'll show 95% of the time, and you'll probably rent to them. But what about the other 8? What happens to them? We know that typically somebody's not going to give you a credit card and will agree to a tour will probably only show 34% of the time, and that's terrible, folks. That's the industry average, by the way. That's closing ratio. When you've got a premium for the gift card program here, we have a program called Rent Rewards. You know, we'll strategically plug in there that says, by the way, we see you qualify for a gift card for simply coming down and taking a tour of the facility. Can you tell me more about that? And folks, again, I've listened to over 500 different recordings, and you can hear the cadence in their voice change. Their defense mechanism comes down, and let's get excited about it because now there's something in it for them, and we're going to pay them to come down and take a tour of your facility because it's their time. If anybody who wants to charge a tenant to come down and look at a facility $25, you're just sending him to the competition. So once we get that done, we set a tour date up. Rate on a program like this is 68%. James, you go back to that slide.
Yep.
Our rate on that is 68%. It's static, and the customers are happy. Now, if at your facility, and I know the managers are out there thinking about this right now, I've asked this question 100 times, even more. What's the chances of you closing them if they show up? And it's all over the board, but mostly it's about 92% is we get. And that help you close them. That's got to be up to your manager. But trust me, these are in-market leads. These are people who need self-storage. If they're going to come down and show up at your facility, they'll be ready to go. Now, here's a great question I'm going to pose to you. What if they don't show up? Right? And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. James? So, leads. Head drink there. Immediate response to prospect. 2 out of 45 minutes to respond to a web lead is just giving your competition all your prospects in a basket. right? And we know that your managers just don't have time to get it, so you have to have a backup. You're able to, your answer machine's not going to get these for you. You know, they're not going to build up in a file. You know, your customer's not going to wait for you to call them back. What's happening is your customer's filling out that form online and submit, and they're bouncing up to your website, and they're your competition and doing the same thing. And if it gets to it, wins. Pretty much. That's one who organized and you can make an outbound call. Right? You program that you respond to these web leads within 15 minutes or less. We have that for you, right? And the others in the industry have the same thing. So when you're considering an outsourced service, or going to bring on a do-it-yourself, 15 minutes or less is when you need to respond to these leads, or you might as well kiss them goodbye. So taking notes here, if you decide to do an outsourced service, and you can ask these companies to have a program like this, how is it, what's the process, and that sort of thing. What you want to do is you want to take these web and convert that to an outbound call. You want to get the prospect on the telephone, have a conversation with them, and you want to get them to show up at your facility. So very important. Again, we work about 15,000 of those a month, and it's very important. It's a huge lead generation for your site. So remember we talked about the website, that Sentinel's website, aesthetically pleasing. It's got the current tags on there. You know, that demographic is going to feel warm and fuzzy about it. I'm going to store stuff with them. Right? Two ways to contact them. I could pick up the phone, or I could fill out the web form. You know, I'm done beating that horse to death. You've heard what I have to say about that. But if you want to be real-time interactive on your site, must. And that can't be something that you pull down and you just, get it from the web and you want managers to man it, because that's just not going to work. Your managers don't have the time to sit there by the live chat and answer each live chat that comes in. Because if you go into a live chat setting and just sit there and TikToks, they're going to jump off and they're going to go to your competition. I can't stress that enough. So what you do is you need to have an outsourced company that does that for you, that's completely integrated with your site management software. Now, there's several outsourced companies who do what we do. So do your due diligence, shop around, and see what they offer. A team that only does live chat. That's what we have. We have a team that's standing by 109 hours a week, that's standing by ready to take your chat, and they're fully integrated with your site management software. I don't have to ask them what site they're talking about or ask, certain questions to bog down the process. Team's trained to, hand prospect calls in a chat setting. Our goal is to get them on a phone call and to get them to your facility. Live chat, it has to be interactive, it has to be real time, and it has to be immediate. Your managers aren't going to be able to manage it themselves. Let's go back to that, that they don't show. By the way, the 6 self-storage prospect and only 17 were followed on. I stole this, and I thought it was a great factoid. 6 self-storage prospect and only 17% were followed up on. Well, 1,000 words, I guess. And if you're not following up on your prospects, guys, that's a shame on you. And so you've got to have a strategy. So with the rent reward program that I was telling you about earlier, 68% show rate. So what a show? Well, 24 hours after they don't show, I was on the phone with them on your behalf. Hey, this is Mike with Sentinel Self Storage. Hey, just noticed here your card wasn't activated yesterday. Is everything okay? My wife was sick, or my kid had a baseball game, or whatever the 400 different reasons they're going to give you for not showing up. The biggest reason is they're still in that buyer's remorse. They're giving you the Heisman, right? They know they need storage, but they just, they need a little kick in the butt to get going, right? My team's on the phone with them. I want to let you know that we've got your card set aside here for you. Are you still in the market for self-storage? And it does this for you. Remember, managers doing 52 different things, and you hope they've got an hour or two in the day to be able to follow up on all these prospects. They do. And so says, no, and maybe they did go to your competition. We're going to find that out for you, and we're going to tell you why they went to the competition. So we're going to do that in just a minute. But mostly it's no, we have, I haven't rented yet, and I'm still in the market. If we set a second appointment, folks, they're going to show 95% of the time it's done. And then immediately during that process for 21 days, and days is crucial, a follow-up campaign of emails that will go out that'll be branded specifically, and managers can do this also. And you got to come up with, you can see here the little PDFs on here. And one of the PDFs could say, things most people forget to do when moving. Little factoids about that, and it's branded to your facility, and it keeps it fresh on there. Or once they rent, right, it becomes not a follow-up anymore, but now it becomes a continued branding process, and it's about while you're at your self-storage facility and whatnot. But it's the follow-up piece that's crucial. We're going to talk about that as I get into our data piece. Next one. So, are you inspecting what you're expecting? I'll tell you what, that's back from the Tommy Hopkins Zig Ziglar days, and I know I'm dating myself with that comment, but it's something that never goes out of style. If you're not inspecting what you're expecting, then how are you going to ever gauge your business? If you're inside your business, they'll swoop in and just pick you right up. You're on top of your business in order to compete with the REITs. James, will you pop up that link to the dashboard real quick?
I don't know if I can, to be completely honest with you. Let's get talking about.
There you go. Scroll to the top. Okay. Sorry my hand's on here, guys, but you got to be able to see this, and as you track this, we talked about primary market area, and right here is a geo tracker device. You should be able to track by zip code, by area code, exactly where your prospects are coming from. You need to be able to see that because it's important on how you spend your marketing dollars. And if you're not able to see that sort of stuff, that's a problem. And a lot of you are probably scratching your heads and maybe have some very sophisticated people out there that can delve into SiteLink and all the other management tools. But let me tell you, that takes man hours to do, right? You need a system in place that automatically gathers this information for you. James, you can just scroll down on this. You don't need to click the tabs. Look at information about rental conversion. Right? How many prospects are hitting you via walk-in, via telephone? If you have an outsourced service like XPS or OpenText or PhoneSmart, right? You got to be able to track this information, and you got to be able to take it all the way down to the very end. James, click on the rental tag there.
Right here.
Yep. Now see how this opens up for you down here, right? You're going to be able to see the people's names. You're going to get detailed information about prospects, the rentals, and now you're thinking, okay, no wonder XPS can understand, the 68 percentiles and the 95 percentiles, because I track this 1,000 calls a month, and we've got so much data. I've got people down a couple offices down from me. I call my propeller heads and my pocket protectors, and they drive me nuts with factoids and data. I'm this guy. That's what I do. But I like to see it because we understand your business. OpenText understands your business. PhoneSmart understands your business, right? So you got to have these kind of tracking mechanisms in place, or you're not going to understand your business, and your competition who does understand their business is going to snatch it away from you. Get out of that, James, and scroll down just a little bit. see on prospect follow-up. You see the prospects that come in. You're going to see emails that were sent out there. You're going to be able to track the effectiveness of it, the outbound calls that were made, the inbound responses. You're going to see all of this stuff, right? Be a manager that's doing it themselves, which, you know, that's road to hope, or to be able to have an outsourced company that's going to be able to do it for you and roll down. You're going to be able to see buying cycles. This is crucial information. When are you going to come to your facility? Are you just saying, well, just come on down and see me, and, you know, when you get here, right? You're going to be able to see appointments set. You're going to be able to see, did they want the facility within 72 hours? A 4 to 10 day renter, those sort of things. And then you can manage your churn and get facilities cleaned out and get ready and anticipate the traffic that's going to be coming to your facility. And you can you can bring on additional help if you need to, or you can rely on your outsourced service to answer those calls for you while you're handling those customers who are there and ready to lease. Scroll down. Information like unit sizes. We're coming into heavy season, right? The May, June, and July, August, we call that the heavy season because our call volume spikes up. And it varies, I'm sure, from area to area. We want to know what's the most requested site. And real important for you, if you got some deadbeats that are, you know, languishing, and you're going to want to get them out of there. You want to let them go to auction, and you want to get those sites clean and available for a renter who's going to need those. We'll tell you that kind of information. And then for advertising source, James, you can scroll down here. We're going to let you know what's looking for you. Are you a previous customer? Have a part bench ad that you're using? You've got TV, or you're doing mailers out to the residential community. Whatever it is, we're able to track that for you and tell the effectiveness of it for you too. And then we'll tell you how your search engine's working for you. You know, and it's going to be real time based on customer inquiry. Not all the click-throughs where your competition is shopping you. We're going to clear all that out for you. We're going to let you know who's actually finding you and how they're finding you, and if they rent, if they didn't rent. You can go to Q&A. So I'm to questions. You know, I kind of rushed it a little bit for you.
We're done in terms of the slides. Trying to catch where we were.
We're done.
Okay.
We're done. I kind of sped it up for a little bit because we had a little technical difficulty, and I know everybody has a million things to do today. So hopefully that was informative. I'm available for questions, but let's go ahead. If we've got any questions from the attendees, we'll go ahead and take them now.
Yeah, at this point, I don't see any questions other than laughing at us for the technical difficulties.
I know. A pocket protector. James is a propeller head, and we couldn't get this thing to work.
Hey, I got it to work. Come on. You know, I guess along the lines of technology and websites too. One thing that you know, just to kind of complement interactivity and you know, the number that you're saying, 82% of people are looking online first. One thing that's relatively new that some of you may or may not know about, but it ties into all this, is as of April 21st, or it's April 1st, Google will be changing the game dramatically on websites, especially location-based and radius-based, you know, sites and stuff like ours, and it all has to do with your mobile versions and non-mobile versions and things like that. So when you're thinking of your demographics, you know, do you track, you know, or does technologies like this, does it track mobile hits? I mean,
Absolutely.
Something you guys feel is important?
Absolutely. You know, you're right. And the game's a changer. You remember, you know, 5-6 years ago when we go to the trade shows, right? There was, you know, nobody was there. It was, you know, maybe any web companies. Today, go to these trade shows, there's 4 or 5 of them, right? And so that's a big play. The websites back in the day were really reserved for the REITs. You know, the independent operator more or less had a glorified brochure. And now today we're talking about mobile applications. And that graphic that I talked to you earlier about, that younger demographic, the 26-year-old, from 26 to 37 years old, they're looking at that mobile app. Now, our vertical is not like Nordstrom's or REI or, Converse or something like that where you're going to see it, like it, and buy it. Our vertical is more of a research as far as the web goes. And again, going back to interactive intelligence, our vertical, they are going to go to the website. They're going to certainly document and look at you and shop you, but they're inevitably going to have some questions for you because there's too many moving parts to it.
In particular regarding websites and mobile, and for those of you that don't know my background, I'm a web designer. I come from the website industry. Previously for a couple of years for Rednova, Storage Ahead or StoreEdge now. So I'm very up to date with this sort of side of things. But Google is now going to be keeping a separate index of mobile versions of websites. And in our industry, because people tend to be going from point A to point B, and because they tend to want to find a facility near either their home or their work or in between, a large percentage of them now, and in some cases I've heard as high as 60-65%, are starting their search from a mobile device. Google's going to be looking at your websites now, and they've changed the game dramatically, and it's going to be using mobile indicators really to start sizing you up in terms of your websites versus the competition. So, if when going about and kind of looking at your marketing tactics and techniques and your website and things in general, make sure you, one, have a mobile version, and two, if you guys are the ones handling it, make sure you're looking at the data being given back in Google Webmaster Tools. It'll tell you if you're basically not mobile friendly, or there's ways to go in and test certain things and find out, whether your site is truly mobile friendly or not. If you're outsourcing it to a web provider or somebody else, they should be the ones handling that for you, and ask the questions, because there's a game changer coming around the corner. And, that's really important because we are specifically related to, we're a location-based business and service. And, there's no sense in, I tell people all the time, in a market like Phoenix, for instance, there's sense in trying to optimize your website to rank for Phoenix, because that's not really your market. Your market is your sub-market. Your market is the zip codes and the trade radius that you typically get your clients from or your tenants from. So think about indicators in that area. Concentrate on making sure you're speaking to that market. Are you in a retirement area? Are you near a military base? Things like that. Don't look for these global top-level kinds of things.
That's right. Your primary market area, you got to take a look at that for sure.
Well, Mike, would you do me a favor? Would you right-click on my name and make sure that you've sent me back host control, not just presenter, because I want to make sure that I get everything squared away. Now, does anybody have any questions, into what we've discussed at this point? Because it's a lot of information, obviously. A lot of it's techie, geeky stuff.
You're presenter.
The host. I need to be host, though.
Okay.
It should give you both options.
And there you go.
Perfect. Yep. Okay. So, Ann, are you still with us at this point?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep. Sorry, I mean to cut you off earlier on that announcement.
No
if you want to go ahead and jump in.
No problem. I was just talking about the trade show, just as a reminder. It's May 4th through 6th. Room discounts at the hotel end on April 10th, and the early bird discount for registration ends April 16th. And remember, you get one free registrant for every 10 registered. And I also wanted to mention, in addition to our trade show, that we have a networking breakfast coming up between now and that time, both in Phoenix and in Tucson. In Phoenix, it'll be the 31st of March. That's next Tuesday. It will be at IHOP on Cactus, right across the street from Paradise Valley Mall. That's 4501 East Cactus. All the details are on our website. The website is www.aselfstorage.org, the events page. We'll have our networking breakfast in Tucson on April 14th, and that is at the IHOP on Grant and Rosemont. In both cities, Phoenix and Tucson, it'll run from approximately 8 o'clock in the morning till 9:30. We try to get you out so you can get back to work. And opportunities to share, to learn, and I am so impressed with the level of networking and sharing that happens. People are doing business and making connections and answering questions at every single meeting. So we hope that you'll come out and join us. Those are free to members, and they are hosted by vendors in the industry. iBid for Storage is hosting the Phoenix session, and Professional Self-Storage is hosting the Tucson session. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, James, and thank everybody for listening, and we look forward to seeing you soon at ASA events.
And, to kind of complement what Ann's saying, and Mike, this industry is very, very small. We got a lot of facilities, but, we all share information. Don't be afraid to ask information. Ask, industry professionals. Ask guys like Mike. Ask the guys at Open Tech questions. Do your research. But things changing. You're not expected to know how to solve all these problems, and there are really excellent resources out there that have figured this stuff out, that are reasonably priced, that can give you the data that you're otherwise going to be just beating head up against a wall to try and figure out and parse out from analytics reports and things that you just frankly don't have the time to try or need to try and learn. Does that make sense? Do you have anything to that, Mike?
I agree, and it's a very small, tight-knit group. The 50,000 or whatever we put out there, but there's more value of independence. If you take out the REITs and you take out the large independents, it's that number down dramatically. And so there's a lot of subject matter experts out there that are available and are willing to guide you and walk you through it. And the interesting part about it is it's a fraction of the cost of what you would pay if you wanted to try to do it yourself and somebody and bring on full-time employees.
Especially in terms of man hours.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. And and your return on investment with this is it's a no-brainer.
Most important thing, and you say take out the REITs and everything. The search engines have really nailed it. They finally figured out that we are a location-specific and submarket-driven and specific industry. And what that means is they want to show more locally relevant results. And in most cases, you are the locally relevant result. Now, there's all kinds of different things in our industry, from the aggregator sites to the REITs to other things that people can find information. And they're all viable. But don't count the fact that you're a small single-owner operator with a small facility in a certain submarket. You're in many cases the more relevant result. You've just got to give the right indicators to the search engines to know that you're there. And there's very easy ways to do it, and just ask the questions, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, because you, as the small operator, in most cases are the authority in a given market, and the search engines want to make sure they're giving the most relevant results to people looking.
Very encouraging, James. That's very
encouraging.
And that's
the truth. I mean, that really is, especially with the mobile searches these days too, because mobile searches, the goal of a mobile search is to line you up with the nearest, most relevant authority in terms of what you're searching. And as long as you've got a good mobile version of your website, and as long as you're giving off those indicators that you are located in this submarket, you have service these zip codes, things like that, the search engines will eventually show you. And it's not a whole lot of effort that goes into that, believe it or not. So, with that, I'll give Mike the last word, and then we will be good.
We'll be in Las Vegas. We'll be in booth number 627 if you want to come by and say hi. We'll have a team there and subject matter experts, and can answer more questions for you. Or you can reach me at mroberts@xpsusa.com.
Thank you, everybody. Please fill out that survey if you would. It maybe takes 30 seconds, and then make sure to register for the trade show coming up, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.